Hey girls at Scuba, it is Charlotte here again for our Friday Night Live Instagram feature. Although, like last week, it is Saturday morning again here in Indonesia. So today we're joined by Annika, who is one of our amazing Girls at Scuba ambassadors, and she is in New Zealand. So I'm just going to invite Annika now to our call. So just give me 1 second. I hope you've all had an amazing week. If you've been able to dive, I hope that your diving has of marine creatures. I actually went for a dive as well here in Gili Trawangan this week, and because there's not so many tourists, it was just so beautiful and so many fish and marine life. And Annika has just joined us. Good morning, Annika.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Really good. It's a nice Saturday day here. It's a good weekend, and so I'm really
I know.
stoked.
I think as well here we've both been really lucky and got the sunshine. I think this weekend. And I know that you've just got back from an expedition as well. How was your expedition? I'd love to hear where you went and all the details about that.
It was the best. We had the best weather. So we headed up to the Kermadec Islands, Rangatahua, and so that's 1,000 kilometers north of New Zealand. And we went
Oh,
up
okay.
there with scientists from the Auckland Museum, from a few universities in New Zealand, as well as our Indigenous population mana whenua for the Kermadecs, Ngāti Kuri. And we went up for 2 weeks and yeah, had the best weather, the best diving. The Kermadecs is one of kind of 4 pristine places left in the world. And so to be go up there and see the diving was yeah incredible. So we were able to help out with the scientists. We were able to kind of be part of the work that they're doing. It's a 5-year program, and we
Okay.
marked off kind of the first expedition of that 5 years. So it was great.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and I guess for you as well, because for those of you that don't know, Annika grew up actually living on a boat. So I'm guessing you felt right at home traveling those 1,000 kilometers up to the islands.
Yeah, it was actually the first time I'd ever done a crossing. So you couldn't see
Okay.
any. So that was the for me just seeing the sunrise and sunset over the horizon. And
Yeah.
like I said, we were super lucky with weather that it was just glassy on the way up, so we could spot whales, dolphins, sunfish.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, being on the boat, I always get the best sleeps from yeah growing up on a little 30-foot yacht with my 2 brothers and my parents. So it was nice. It was really nice to be with a whole lot of people that love the ocean and kind of being in my element.
Yeah, definitely. And was there a big group of you, or was it quite a small expedition?
So there was 2 vessels. We had 12 scientists come up from the expedition group, and then we had 19 crew on our vessel, which was the science platform. So we had a series of, we had a dry lab, a wet lab, a dive center out the back, and then that's where we were conducting sub operations. So we had a submersible that could go to 1,000 meters. So we used that. The scientists would come on during the day and use that as their workshop. And then we had another vessel where they were staying, and so there was another 9 crew on there as well.
Okay, so that's the image that we shared actually earlier this week on our Instagram, and there was a lot of people asking like, what is the vessel? Is it the same one that David Attenborough used as well? So that was one of the questions underneath the picture.
Yeah, so that submersible is a Triton submersible. It can go to 1,000 meters. They have several different ones. So one that can go full ocean depth, but the
Okay.
1,000 meter one that you were looking at in the picture is kind of the iconic, the yellow one that everyone sees. And like so watch Blue Planet or all the recent documentaries, if you follow Ocean X, it's the same submersible. You can put 3 people into it, and then yeah, the massive glass dome around you, so you can
Yeah.
see around you.
Oh wow! And like, what kind of did you do it just at night, just in the day, or were you down there during the night as well?
We were doing it just during the day because we were doing
Oh,
a lot for our crew. And so it was getting used to being able to take the submersible off the boat, getting used to getting
okay.
people out. So we were only doing operations during the daytime, but yes. And also when you go past 200 meters, then you lose light anyway. So
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say it's probably like you wouldn't know if it was day or night anyway when you're that deep. And like,
yeah.
how do you get back up to the surface? Like, how does it travel up and down?
So you can control it. Just kind of well, the
Like a
subtitle.
BCB almost. You just inflate it.
similar to up, down, like move around. You've got
Yeah.
manipulator, so you've got controls where you can pick up things, you can take samples. So
Oh, okay.
quite movable. You can control it a lot and come up closer to read or come back. There is certain
Okay.
tools that just kind of drop straight down, release weights and come back up. But this
Oh,
one, you've got full control. You can come up and down as much as you like.
oh, wow. And I guess it's pressured, isn't it, to surface pressure, so you don't have to stop on the way up. You can just literally go up and down.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so cool. That's amazing.
Same
I
as
remember when I saw the picture, I was like, oh my gosh, like Annika has been in that machine. I couldn't wait to ask you about it.
Nah, it's pretty cool. It's something that I would only had ever dreamed of. Like someone asked me a couple of years ago what would be my dream, and I was like, to get to the bottom of the ocean. And so I feel like I'm
Yeah.
definitely closer than I thought I'd ever get. And especially
Yeah.
projects coming up, it looks like we're doing a lot of, I guess, testing equipment and trying to develop something that could full ocean depth, but still 360 viewing
Oh, okay.
porthole. So yeah, there's some exciting projects on the horizon.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, it was so nice to catch up with you, Annika. I know that you've got a lot of questions that have already been sent in from the community. Oh, perfect. So I've already sent those across to you. So if anyone has any comments for Annika during the live, if there's anything that she says that you want to ask her about, or if you want to comment or tell her where you're from, anything like that, you can just pop them in the comments, and Annika will also get back to you as well during the live. So I'm gonna again just hide my camera and turn my microphone off, but I am going to be here as well, listening, and I will come back at the end of the live.
Awesome, thanks.
Okay, so it's over to you now, Annika. Enjoy.
Awesome. Hey team, thank you guys so much for all of your questions that you sent through. There's some really, really good ones. And I'm excited to share kind of a bit of my journey, what I've been up to, and yeah, to get into some of the questions you had around my career, as well as how did I get to where I am. So the first one, and I mentioned it just slightly beforehand, I grew up on a boat. So during the summer, my dad actually built a boat when he was 22. And so we were raised on a little yacht, a 9-meter or 30-foot yacht, and we'd sail along the coastline. And for me, that's kind of like my home, where I feel most comfortable, looking at all the different sea creatures, and that's how I learned about the ocean. And then when I went to university, I wanted to have a summer job, and so ended up just emailing through to a dive boat that I remember seeing when I was sailing up, some dive boats that worked up at Tutukaka. And so I emailed through to the boss and just said, hey, I know all my New Zealand fish. I'm really keen to help out in any way possible. And that's kind of how I started my diving career as such. But I only joined just as a deckhand and a snorkel guide. And then over the 5 summers during my university degree, I actually built up my hours and did courses. So I had a couple of questions about my advanced and dive masters and how long that took. I just saw a question come through. Yes, I'm based in New Zealand, and my t-shirt is also from one of my best friends. She actually designed this t-shirt, so check her out, Sophie Roslett. And so yeah, when I was up working over summer, I slowly, I guess, did a course every summer. So I started doing my advanced, and I spaced it out just so I could get the experience as well. I saw working alongside the dive boats, that's where I wanted to go and work on. And so I slowly worked up. And so for my first summer, I did my advanced and rescue. And then when I came back, I actually took, I guess, the whole summer to do my dive masters. And there was a question about like how long did that take? I actually took it really slowly because it was really good. I could integrate it into my work as well. So I was still working on the boats to be able to pay for my essentials, food and rent. But then I was also able to do the course at my own pace and really get into it. So like, for example, the guiding aspect of your dive masters, I actually spent a couple of weeks just guiding every day, just going through every scenario, which actually helped a lot when I then became a dive master afterwards in guiding, that I felt like I was really prepared and really expected. A question just came through around New Zealand open for visitors. At the moment, currently no, but I know we are going to be opening up next year. So hopefully you guys can come in and have a look. Also for the DM internship or paid course, for me, I paid for it, but I was also working at the same place. So at Dive Tutukaka, I paid for an aspect of the dive masters, but also was working on the dive boats, and that's kind of how I did it. I didn't do the internship of working for free over summer, mainly because I was already working on the boats and I wanted to have some money built up over summer to last me through my university studies. But it is a really good question, and I know that shops have set up really good programs that you can come in and work for a summer, and I reckon it's the best way, especially when you're learning with I guess real life people that you're guiding. It means that no one's faking any like problems, and you can really learn and kind of get a really good judgment trying to see problems before they happen. So I really loved guiding people, and that's, I guess, the start of it. Is from there I just started volunteering for lots of different marine jobs, and then I found out that actually being a dive instructor is not just the only dive course that you could do. There's many different career pathways in diving, and so there was a few questions around tips on like my career path and how do you get into this. I didn't realize that not only you could be a scuba diving instructor, but I got to work at the aquarium as a scuba diver, and so I was able to jump in and feed all the fish, clean the tanks, and that for me was the best way of learning a little bit more about the marine environment, but on a hands-on situation. I didn't study marine biology at university, and so for me this was like doing a marine biology degree but hands-on, and really understanding what it takes to actually just make a fish survive, but then how that applied to around the world, and the pressures that are put on around the world is very when you're in an aquarium, those factors are still really important to make sure that you have a really healthy ecosystem. So I learned a lot there, and through my volunteering, I know there was a lot of questions about me being a safety diver on the movie Meg. So I was actually approached by that. It wasn't an ad that came up. I was approached because of my time at the Poor Knights, where I was working as a dive instructor, but also my time around and just knowing divers in New Zealand. Our network here is really small, and so everyone kind of knows everyone, and they asked if I could come in and help out on set and kind of be their local point of contact, but also being able to help out with the I guess the main actors, as well as the safety divers, and getting them comfortable with a full face mask. And one of the reasons for New Zealand that I got that is because we have something here called a COC, so a Certificate of Competency, and that means that you're able to work in New Zealand as a diver. And so that was a huge thing for a lot of international companies coming in, that they couldn't get a COC straight away. And so that's where it was quite helpful for me to be able to work in this space, because I did have a COC and I could operate. And there was a couple of questions of what certification you need as a safety diver. If you do really want to get into that industry and work on movie sets, there is definitely a huge space of, we had 6 or 7 divers on set at all times in the water. Anytime you see a movie where you've got like the actor in, if you took a step back, just imagine like 3 or 4 others, as well as the cameraman and his safety diver as well. So there's a lot of, especially in the water, there is a lot of action going on. And for the divers that were working on set, they had a commercial license. So when you do your commercial diver's license, it's a couple of months, 2 to 3 months, and that's where you learn to work with tools underwater. And that's essential for the movie industry, because you are moving sets around, you're moving props, you're building up props, especially in the water. And so for anyone that is interested in working on a movie set, I would recommend looking down that avenue, doing your commercial diving license. And then you can be part of the marine department. I guess a little bit more information of what it was like on set. There was a massive, so if anyone has seen the movie Meg, the baby or the juvenile shark that you saw on the back of the boat, that actually was a model. So I've got a picture of me standing behind this huge shark, and then a lot of it was kind of integrated in with the design side afterwards. So the props were like the coolest part. You had like mini little scuba bottles, full face masks, and then like all your debris in the water. And it was just a different, for me, it was a huge learning curve, because it was a different part of the industry I'd never seen. And to be able to work with both the people that were the videographers, the props people, as well as the actors, and seeing their comfort levels and trying to make it as easy as we can for them. It was really good just to see just a different avenue you could take in scuba diving. So yeah, I guess through uni, that was just one aspect of kind of just areas that I guess was trying to feel out what I could do as a job. And when I finished my degree, I got asked by Blake NZ, which used to be Sir Peter Blake Trust, an environmental leadership organisation, to work as their environmental educator, showing people what it looked like underwater through VR. And so that was really like a different part to it, where I could bring my diving experience and what you do guiding and pointing out different creatures. You're now doing it to students, but they have VR headsets on. So it was just like another avenue. And that was really exciting to see students get so excited, and you could guide them through it, what they were looking at, and then also the impacts that we're having on our ocean. So that was kind of like just another role that I started working in, that environmental space, which I learned a lot. And a couple of questions that came into like, how did I get down this career path, or how did I get to where I am? That I realized then that it was really important for your networking and the people you know. That is a huge key thing, or key piece of advice, I would say, for finding a job. I know that I just got asked a question about how important that is, the networking, and it is huge, because when you start to work with people, whether it's volunteer or through work, you meet other people, and that is how I guess I've always found my jobs afterwards. Or projects that I've helped out on, just being willing to put my hand up and be like, yeah, I can help out on that. And networking is so crucial, because you'll realize that the diving industry, everyone kind of knows everyone, and it's amazing how even when you go around the world, how other people are connected up to it. So there was projects that we were doing in New Zealand, but then they'd worked overseas, and so when we went diving overseas, then they're like, yeah, you should get in contact with this person and this person. And so my new role now, I've just recently joined a very new marine organization, which I'm hoping I can share this new journey with you guys over the next year. Is a new marine organization, like our trip to the Kermadex, is to provide a platform to help scientists to help more exploration and education. And my role is project manager on that, is looking at projects that we can do. And so now all of a sudden, the little networks that I was making here has become a really crucial part of my job, and being able to help out on projects. I would say it's essential, kind of knowing everyone. So yeah, if whenever you're working in the diving industry, yeah, just make sure that you introduce yourself and talk to people, and yeah, you'll be surprised how far that takes you, for your careers or any projects that you want to be part of. It is great. I just quickly looking through some of the questions. I had one about if I could share any incidents that we could all learn from in the water. And I would say that, especially going back to my dive masters, that training was actually really, really crucial to kind of help me foresee any problems that would come up. So I know one of them was this archway. It's called Northern Arch. It's one of my favorite dive sites. It's 40 meters deep in New Zealand. And I know that there you can get a lot of currents. And so part of my training was looking and seeing kind of those currents and what was going on before you take a group of divers into that environment, especially if they're less qualified or have less experience. And so I remember one time going up to the archway, and as I blew my bubbles out, I saw them actually go down instead of up. And I actually realized that there was a really big down current in that archway. So although nothing happened and no one was hurt, it was a really, really good learning curve to just be aware of your surroundings and realize that instead of taking my divers in there and then trying to work out what to do, I kind of stopped them, and we actually just peeked around the corner and had a look at the archway, and then we kind of came back from it. And so it does come with experience, and like the question's perfect, what we can learn from each other, but just being aware of those surroundings. And doing my dive masters was the best way, and your rescue course, actually that was my favorite course ever, doing my rescue course, where you can start seeing those precursors before problems happen. So yeah, that would be some of my advice. Another one, actually, I was diving in the water, and it was my third dive of the day, and I was super cold. And I realized that actually at the end of my dive, I couldn't use my hands. And so I had a really good buddy that helped me with my buoyancy, but that was the first time I realized how important it was to be warm and trying to be able to have the dexterity in your fingers to still be able to manage your buoyancy. Here in New Zealand in winter, it gets down to 14 degrees Celsius. So it was a big learning curve for me to understand like why it is really important to look after yourself and make sure that you're at your optimal performance. I just got a message actually from my instructor, who is the best instructor in the world. Why was the rescue so good? Because you get put in situations that you have to, I guess, just think about actually what it would be like in real life. And the reason why I loved it so much is because then that happened afterwards and I knew exactly what to do and I could be calm and sort out the situation. And I think the best part was the scenarios where you have people panicked in the water and you're trying to like help them out. And then you go through, we were doing it on the beach and on the boat. And I think a big part of it was the people I was doing it with was just the best. And so they made it a really, really good course. But the scenario side is something that you learn a lot from, and you learn by doing it. And then when you're put in that situation afterwards, you can just come to it. Some of the best dive places in New Zealand. Is it better to dive land-based or liveaboard? So New Zealand, we're really lucky. We've got really good shore diving, but also a lot of the islands along our coast, you can go out on a boat ride just for the day or a liveaboard, and you can see some of what I would recommend is like the best diving in the world. It is subtropical, so we do have a lot of seaweed. We have really, really cool rock formations, but we don't have coral down here, or we don't have big hard coral. We do have some soft corals. And so some of the best dive sites, I'd have to definitely say the Kermadec now, because it was like 30-40 meter viz. You have hundreds of Galapagos sharks swimming around you. I would say it's like New Zealand's version of the Galapagos. But then coastal wise, you've got the Pornites, one of the best dive sites in the world, with huge archways, sea caves, really nice drop-offs where you can dive on a wall and it drops down to 90 meters. And you've got swim throughs. The archway I was talking about before, the Northern Arch, you can get 60 stingrays all like stacked up on top of each other. And so the wildlife there, it's not as predictable as maybe places overseas where you can't always say that you're going to see a manta ray here or a turtle here. But that's what makes it even more special in New Zealand, is when you jump in and you do see those creatures and you're like, you're not meant to be here, or it's very unusual for you to be here. Also down the coast, we have the beautiful Coromandel just alongside Auckland, and down there you've got the Aldermans and the Merks, which are fantastic diving. And then if you continue down the coast, you've actually got a active volcano, White Island, which all of the nutrients that comes into the water makes everything so much bigger. So I've seen kingfish the size of me swim straight up to me. You get massive schools of fish. And so yeah, that diving for the North Island is amazing. And then you go down to the South Island and it's also completely different. We have a whole lot of sounds that you can go into where you get this fresh water tannin layer, which stops the sunlight coming in. So it means things like black coral, which is normally really deep and you wouldn't see it, you have in like 10-15 meters of water. And then you get seven-gill sharks, you get heaps of crayfish here. So yeah, there's a bit of everything, but I know New Zealand's not seen as a diving destination. But I definitely think if you're here, get in the water, have a look, because it is a really unique place where you don't really know what you're going to see, which for me is really exciting. So yeah, thanks for the awesome question. I'm just having a look to make sure I've answered everything on here. I got one about the Rolex scholarship. So it is a scholarship. I've had a few friends go through it. If you have a look at the Australasia scholarship winner at the moment, Millie, she's one of my best mates. She's definitely the best one to ask. Any Rolex scholars that I've met are really, really, really lovely, the sweetest people in the world. And if you do have any questions about applying or what you should include, just feel free to message them. I do know that the application isn't something you can do overnight. So if you're looking to apply for the Rolex Scholar, for those that don't know, it is a year-long awesome scholarship that supports you in a whole lot of diving projects and training around the world. So have a look into it, but I would say I'd recommend like a month to do the application. There is quite a bit to it, but it's definitely worth it, and you learn a lot about yourself doing the application. The scholarship I have at the moment is with GUE, Global Underwater Explorers, and it's their first scholarship to help divers with their training. And so for me, some of my goals is to do cave diving and tech diving, and so I'm hoping to complete those next year when I can travel. I got a question just now of what gear do I use. So I have a Halcyon wing, and I really love just having a wing because it feels like I'm super stable in the water, and I also use integrated weights. I found that when I was using a weight belt, it always gave me little bruises on my hips, and so yeah, integrated weight belt. And then for my training, I've been using a long hose, a really long hose, and then my other rig is on a necklace just below me. So yeah, have a look and see about the course. The fundamentals course is a really great way of learning, kind of fine-tuning your skills and being really aware of where you are in the water and being able to move without having you can turn on a point, or you can kick towards and backwards without making too much fuss, and it just made me a lot more confident. When I first bought my first set of dive gear, so me and my little brother learnt when we were young with my dad, kind of just playing in the shallows and breathing off his rig. And so for Christmas, we got a little 10-litre dive tank. And I used my dad's gear for a little bit when I first learnt. And then over the summers when I was working as a dive guide, a dive master or dive instructor, I slowly bought pieces of gear. But my first thing that I brought for myself was a mask. And because I have two brothers, I brought a pink mask so they couldn't steal it. But yeah, slowly I've just built it up over time. And so yeah, at the moment I have a wing which I really loved, and that's actually something that unless I'm teaching in, I will dive in a wing. And I love it because I can travel anywhere with it. It's super light. The back plate, I've got two different versions, one for traveling and one if I'm in New Zealand, it's got a bit more weight to it. So I don't need as much weight in my integrated. So yeah, thank you for that question. And then yeah, I guess depending on where I'm diving, it will either be a dry suit or a wetsuit here. In New Zealand, we use a lot of open cell wetsuits where you use soap to get in, and they keep you really nice and warm, but they're also quite light to take around. Where else would I love to dive? The list is massive. I think top of my list would be the Galapagos. The pictures I've seen and the stories I've heard, as soon as we can leave New Zealand, I think that's going to be a place on my list. Another place I'd love to dive is Antarctica. I was very lucky. I got a question, thanks Lee. Yes, I have been to Antarctica. A couple of years ago, I was working on the Scots and Shackletons huts down there. And the one thing that was really hard was to go down there and not be able to get in the water. So a place that I'd love to dive would be Antarctica, next to an iceberg, to see kind of it go all the way down, and ideally having penguins all like coming off, diving into the water. That would be just the best. So yeah, I guess those would be like my two top ones, but there's a few places around the world. Chuk Lagoon, or Bikini Atoll, I'd love to do the wrecks there. That would be awesome to see those. And then I would love to see, there's like, I guess, species I'd love to see in the water. So not so much locations, but love to swim next to a blue whale or the sperm whales that are all sleeping vertically. I'd love to see a manta ray feeding station. In New Zealand, we only get like kind of one or two, but to see heaps all together, like a massive chain, I think would be just epic. And then I also do love nudibranchs, so any dive that I can spot new nudibranchs would be epic. So yeah, diving wise, I think I just want to see as much as I can. Wherever I go, I do choose my holiday locations for diving, and so some of the places that I've been able to go would be Tioman Island off Malaysia. That was awesome. It was a really cool island to be able to jump in the water there. I've also been able to dive in Florida. I went over there for the GUE conference, and so I got to do some of the cabin dives, which was amazing to be in the fresh water there. And we also got to see manatees, which if you don't know what a manatee is, check them out. They're like these massive sea cows, and they just, when they eat, they're the messiest eaters, and they've got grass kind of going everywhere. And then some of the islands, Niue and Vanuatu, are some Pacific islands that I've been able to dive at, which have been amazing, and Australia. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of places on my bucket list to go to. And hopefully I can join some of you guys diving soon, once we can leave New Zealand. Any other? Oh, so I guess in terms of like how you can make a career out of diving, kind of mentioned it at the start, but the main thing is, oh, are mermaids real? Yes, definitely. I've seen heaps of mermaids in the water, and you got to work with some pretty amazing ones. Yeah, for people who want to make a career out of diving, I would just say that, yeah, find something that you're super passionate about, and look into the different jobs that you can do scuba diving. So don't just think that you have to be like a scuba diving instructor. If you really like science, you can become a scientific diver. I've been able to volunteer on doing huge surveys and transect studies. So you can actually get supported by universities to become a scientific diver, or you can help out on really big projects. Archaeology was one that I never thought, but if you really, you can, and you really love kind of that history side, the archaeology is like awesome. And then you also have other avenues like aquarium diving. You have more the commercial side, as well as then you've got just not only teaching, but you can also do education as well. So yeah, there's different avenues that you can all get part of. But yeah, hopefully that helps, and feel free, you can send me questions anytime if you're unsure, you want to hear more about a different experience, and I can help you out. So yeah, thank you guys so much for all the questions. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to ask about, I guess, diving in New Zealand or working as a diver? So my last trip at the Kermadec. So the best memory diving there was, the viz there is normally 30 to 40 meters, but one of the bays has a lot of volcanic activity, just in the water, kind of more on the northern side. And so we're just diving on the point there, and the viz dropped down to about 10 meters. And we dropped down and we're cruising along, and I had 3 other divers that I was guiding. And as we went around, kind of more to the end of our dive, in about 10 meters of water, I had this kingfish come right down right next to me and swam really close. And I was like, oh, that's a bit unusual. And then 3 Galapagos sharks also shot down. And I was like, oh, that's very unusual behavior, but that's fine. And as we like kind of was cruising around, I looked out, and this like really black dark shape started like just on the periphery, was swimming around beside us. And then she turned and came towards us. And so all of us just got down onto the reef, and we're just like looking up. And at the time I thought it was a great white shark because on how big she was. And as she came up, she turned, and it's actually the first time ever I've seen a tiger shark. And she was beautiful. She was about 3.5 meters, came right up towards us, turned, checked us out, kind of did another lap, and then went back. And so that was something that was super unexpected. We were not expecting to see a tiger shark underwater. And for her to just come in really slowly and look at us, that was a really, really special moment. And then another part that I never thought I would see, or like even imagine underwater, is down in the sub. They have, the Galapagos sharks were kind of interested in the sound of the sub, and so there's a video that you can see 50 Galapagos sharks just swimming in front, and this is what it's meant to look like, one of the most pristine places. This is an example of what it is meant to look like in the ocean. So I was just going to see if I can find a picture, but the wildlife there, oh, these are some of the sharks. So you can see the wildlife there is absolutely amazing, just swimming around you. And so yeah, these little pockets are the places that I really love and love sharing with people. I love seeing people underwater getting excited like me. One of my friends that I dive with taught me kind of this very useful thing when I'm guiding, and feel free to use this. I always like to get feedback while I'm diving, and so me and my friend would ask our divers, would be like, you've got to tell us how you're feeling underwater when we're pointing out things. So if I pointed out something and you're like, yeah, that's pretty cool, give me a double okays. Don't give me 1 okay, because that's pretty average and I need to work better like to find something else. But double okays means, yeah, that's good. If you think it's pretty great, like, yeah, that's awesome to see, give me a shuckers, like a double shuckers. And then if you think it's like amazing, out of this world, we used to ask our divers to put like an A above their head and be like, yeah, this is awesome. And so it was really cool then when you're diving and you're pointing out things and you turn around and your diver's giving you like an example of what is really cool. And when we saw those stingrays all in the archway, the best moment for me, not just seeing the stingrays, was to turn around, and we were 20 meters mid-water in this archway, to turn around and see my 5 divers all like swimming, going, yes, this is awesome. Because that for me was the best part, is seeing that their shared excitement, and we came back and had the biggest grins on our faces, and I think we were walking on water back to the boat. So yeah, things like that where it's not only what you're seeing underwater, but it's the people that you're sharing it with. And that's why I love Girls at Scuba. The community that you guys have built is so good, because people are like attracted to it because of the energy that it brings, but it's the sharing those memories, and being able to give advice and share experiences which is what I really love. So yeah, thank you very much, and great questions. I see some awesome people joining in here, and yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. It's been really cool to talk to you guys and share some of my experiences.
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on. I think these are becoming my favourite. I was going to say Friday nights, but for us it's Saturday mornings. It's the perfect way to start the weekend. So thank you for sharing with us, Annika.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I love what you said as well, what you just said about the students, about doing this and the shackers, because I remember when I was doing my dive master as well, and like you said, when you're guiding people and you'd point at something, they'd be like, okay, and then I think, oh, are they like, okay, I've seen it, or okay, like that's cool, or okay, like move on. So that's actually a really good thing that moving forward I'm gonna take on as well, because yeah, it's really not underwater. Obviously you can kind of tell on people's like faces, you can see their expression of how they're feeling, but you know, to actually give someone a proper sign, and also as well for when you do future dives, to kind of gauge what your students like to see and what kind of things they enjoy, then you know what you're looking for. So that's really cool. I think as well, like, I've always wanted to do like the van life in New Zealand and travel around, and there's so many land-based places that I want to see, but I think now I'm completely sold on land-based, but taking all my gear with me as well. So yeah, it's in New Zealand, so that sounds amazing.
Oh, I think I lost you there for a second.
Oh yeah, so you're back again now. But yeah, I think the first time that I go to New Zealand, I'm definitely going to be taking all my gear with me, packing it in the van, and just doing a massive overwater, underwater expedition there. So thank you for that inspiration as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, and if anyone's coming to New Zealand, like yourself, hit me up. I definitely love to show you my backyard.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, I'm going to obviously put this video on our feed, so if anyone has any more questions, I'm sure Annika will be pleased to answer them. You can either put them in the comments underneath or reach out to Annika directly. I know I definitely will be. And you said you've got a new project starting soon as well. That's a little bit, obviously you can't divulge all the details now, but when do you start with that?
So we're hoping to launch it at the start of next year, but
Okay.
we're looking at projects, I guess, going from Australia and working up. And so, yeah, hopefully I'll explain a bit more soon, but we've just got a name for our organization. So yeah, keep this, keep watching this space, because it will be all revealed very soon.
Yeah, and obviously we'd love to share it here on Girls at Scuba as well.
Yeah,
and
that would be awesome.
Your top one, where are you planning on going to? So you said when New Zealand opens, you're going to go and do some tech diving. Where are you planning to go and do that?
Oh, so tech diving, yeah, I'm hoping to go up to Chook Lagoon, and up out on some projects where they're doing a lot of photogrammetry projects. And then cave diving, I'm hoping to go to Florida to learn, and then go to Mexico, up out on some projects. So yeah, hopefully if everything goes well, then yeah, that's where I'll be next year.
Yeah, I think as well, during COVID and everyone being locked down, I know I've been constantly scrolling Instagram, and my bucket list is now like 100 places long, where I'm like, okay, when I can travel, I'm going here, 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 here. So that's going to be really exciting. As soon as the borders are open and we're all free, I think we're all heading to our favorite dive destinations for sure.
Yes, definitely. A big catch up with everyone would be awesome.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us, Annika, and I hope you have a really lovely weekend. And the next time you dive in, obviously, we love to share it. So, yeah, just let us know next time you've got the next edition on the community as well. And if you're not already, girls, please follow Annika. She's got a really inspiring Instagram. As you saw from the picture that we shared on Instagram feed, she does the coolest expeditions. So definitely worth a follow. And also for career ideas as well, she's the girl to follow. So thank you so much, Annika.
Thank you.
Okay, have a great weekend. Bye.